Hi y'all, welcome to my shop. Today's project is going to be a wavy or fluted edge bud vase. The only requirement that I've got starting off is that it fit this 1 inch by 5 3/4 inch glass liner. When I'm tackling a new or different project, I find it helpful to do some sketches. I use a sketch notebook. It keeps my sketches in for reference. I find that handy. I'm not very good at it, but like a lot of things, the more you work at it, the better you get. I'm in good company as famous woodturner Cindy Drozda uses the same sketching approach as she approaches new projects as well. An alternative for folks that don't want to sketch might be to turn some miniatures, such as these shown here that I turned. My wife likes the one on the left, so that's the general approach that I'm going to start with. The inspiration for this project comes from a piece of work I got in a, you might say, gift swap from Rebecca Quattlebaum about 10 years ago. Our club had a program like some other clubs do, what they call a comeback box. They'll have a box about this size, and a woodturner will turn something, bring it to the club meeting. People will take raffle tickets to draw on it, or lottery tickets. So anybody that's interested in volunteering gets a ticket. And the winner gets the contents of that comeback box, and then the following month they bring the box back with whatever it is that they turned. That might be something your club might try. When I first got into this project a while back, I turned a little bitty sample. If you missed that video, you might want to check out the link above. I was further inspired by the very large fluted pieces turned by Pham Phuoc Vam Dung, a Vietnamese artist, who turns very large pieces. So I'm starting with this piece of cherry turned between centers. It's got some heartwood and sapwood, which should be interesting. It's about 10 inches long and about 2 3/4 inches across, a little narrower on one end. I'm going to use the narrower end for the base because the base is going to be a little smaller than the top. So let's go ahead and round this thing off. Speed-wise, I'm getting this up to about 1800 using my spindle roughing gouge. Anchor the tool, ride the bevel, lift the handle till it cuts, move the direction, the flute in the direction of cut. Most of you see me round off a piece of wood, so I'm going to move on to the next part. After you knock the edges off, go ahead and adjust your tool rest. I think it's worth noting because it's larger on one end than the other. I want to cut downhill with a supported grain, so I'm going to go from the large end to the small end. I was leading a workshop earlier this week, and I was talking to one turner that I would call him a novice turner. I'm not sure I'd call him a beginner. He's been at it a while, but he was scraping with his tool, and I asked him which did he thought would give him a better. Did he realize he was scraping? He said yes. I asked him did he think scraping or which I asked him which he thought would give a better surface, scraping or slicing, and his response kind of surprised me because it was somewhat of a rhetorical question. He said scraping, and I had to show him that the difference between a scrape and a slice has to do with the size of the shavings, and when I demonstrated to him, he clearly understood that slicing was a better, left a much smoother finish. I'm going to turn a 25 millimeter long tenon, larger than I would normally turn, or about 1 inch, because I'm going to chuck this in this set of bowl jaws that are very deep, have these serrations, and this works great on long style projects like this of a goblet or a vase nature. The true up the end. This wide beating and parting tool makes it a lot easier to get a tenon with parallel walls. I'm going to cut into what would be the top of the face using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. I know it's going to have a tendency to skate on me, so I'm going to just cut in here. And once I get started, that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't like this. think it's because it's not trued up, so I think that what I'm going to do, the easiest way to probably true it up is use a thin parting tool. So let's do that. And then I'm just going to make a tiny little place here to get started with that initial cut. Normally I would cut from the inside out on end grain, but in this case, because I've got a center there in the way, this will work. I'm not sure exactly what the inside of this ought to look like. I'm kind of winging it. Okay, let's clean up that edge that I messed up. I'm using this tool because it's the one in my hand. Okay. Alright, I got rid of that damage. Now, for the flutes I'm going to make, I think I need a rim diameter of something like this. I'll only guess in a while. Now, referring to this little miniature I turned and kind of use it as a sample, I'm going to somewhat wing it, and I'm going to mark those dimensions on the blank. The key thing is that it be able to accomplish holding this bud vase. So and it's going to be recessed down a little ways. So I'm going to mark the bottom and at least have it at least 3/4 inch longer than the bud vase. So I'm going to turn the features. This is going to be the wavy rim that I'm going to cut on. I'm going to have a neck that comes down a ways, maybe here. And I'm going to have a bead below that, and some of these lines will get turned away, I realize, with a steep shoulder somewhere in here. And then I'm going to shape it down to what will probably be the bottom, right about here. And I think I'm going to have a bead right about here at the bottom, and it'll taper down to this bead. So I'm going to leave. You're going to turn from right to left, leaving as much mass on the left as a general rule of thumb. So I'm going to start shaping the top here. Again, switching back to that 1/2 inch spindle gouge. And I think I'm just going to take a parting tool and part down here ways to where I think that that bead's going to wind up being. Key thing is it's wider than an inch to be able to support that drilled hole. So I've got to be cautious of that. I don't want to get carried away with it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take this shoulder down, I think. Just like rolling a large bead. Bring that handle around. And that's about where I want that bead to be at the shoulder. Now I'm going to remove this forward. I can probably do that a little bit faster with this spindle roughing gouge, which moves really quickly. And the reason you have it sharpened straight across is so you can take this kind of peeling cut. I've got to decide is the bead in here or the bead in here, and I think the bead's going to be in that place that I've already taken down. So let's go ahead and use this parting tool and come right next to it. So I'm going to come in here and bring it down to the base of what will be the bead. I an asymmetrical cove, basically. Get this continuous curve here. I switched to a little smaller 3/8 inch spindle gouge and just kind of roll over that bead. Maybe come into that shoulder a little cleaner. And then I've got to think about how I want that bead to present it. Do I want it like that, or do I want it defined a little bit? I think I want it a little more clearly defined. I'm just going to do that by just at the base of the bead, put in a little V-cut. Now that I look at it, I can see that I really want it to be a round bead on that side, so I use the point tool to take care of that. So now I've got a nice bead there. I've got a nice shoulder that I like. So how many flutes do I want? I'm not sure. I looked at some of those very large ones and they had about 5, so I'm going to try 5. So I'm going to divide 360 by 5 and I get 72 degrees. And I could wing this. There's other ways I could mark it, but I'm going to use this indexing feature, which I've not used, this electronic indexing on my Powermatic. So here's that indexing feature. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this, and I'm going to have to look at the instruction book. This indexer is a pretty slick feature. I'm not going to go into all the details, but it tends to work with some divisions better than others. With 5, doesn't seem to work very well because there's 48 positions. So it's like I did 9 and then reading a 10, a 9, and 10, so they're going to be off a little bit, but so my carving, so it'll be all right. Okay, as I'm getting ready to carve, I realized that I'd forgotten the lesson I learned when I did this little pot, in that this has got to be a steep angle all the way up here to the flute. So I've got to put it back on the lathe, which is no problem because I've already got it mounted in a chuck. The second thing is I realized with the suboptimal indexing with 48 positions, where I've got a setting varying between 9 and 10, I'm going to get slight differences in the position. So maybe it's easier for me to change my design. Instead of having 5 flutes, I'll have 6, and then they'll be equally divided. The other thing I recognize is, as I carve these flutes, it might be easier for me to know exactly where that hole is going to be in order to figure out how to cut these flutes. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that hole 6 inches deep. Slow the speed down. Turn off the indexing. Keeping the speed down to no more than about 600. And because I'm a belts and suspenders kind of guy, I just want to make sure that this is going to work. And that works lovely. Okay, now back to cutting on the flute around the rim. So I bring up my 60-degree cone. It fills in that hole nicely and provides some support. And I'm going to cut in from the top to, at about maybe a 40 or so degree angle. Then I may open this up just a little bit more. Okay, now I've got it at the right angle. I'm going to come in from the inside. I'm not going to do anything on the inside except sand this. I think I'll sand it before I go much further on this part and on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this because I'm going to be carving, so I want it to the final sanding grip. Of course, you can't forget that inside that we've got to sand as well. Before I start carving, I'm going to make a little notch at each of those positions where I'm going to use a burr. Sanded here, I'm going to go ahead and start refining the bottom. First thing I'm going to do is take a parting cut, see if I can keep from blocking the camera. I'm marking the bottom first. I'll come back to that. I don't want to remove any more than is necessary right here. Now I'm going to have a bead at the base of this, so that's where I'm going to establish that bead and come on down a bit. Thinking what that proportion is. I think that's going to be the bottom. And here's the bead that's going to match this bead. And I've got the part on both sides just about right. Now I want to taper this down. May need to come down even further, but this will give me a place to start. I'm going too slow. Need to get this speed up a little bit. And I'm going to switch to spindle roughing gouge for some of these long sweeps. Anchor the tool, ride the bevel with the hammer toe cut. And I'm getting, because this is a long piece, I'm going to get a little vibration. So let me put in a cone center. Anchor the tool, ride the bevel. Now, again, we're going to use this roll as do this a little bit. I can't easily get in there with that, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to a 1/2 inch spindle gouge again. We're just going to continue this curve. I kind of like that shape. That's not bad. I need to get round over this shoulder just a bit, so I'm just going to roll this flute over a little bit. Let sandpaper take care of the rest. And now we're going to reduce the size of the bead. Round over that edge just a little bit. Take this down. And it's a little larger than I need, so I think I'm going to take it down here. Alright, now we're going to do the base. I'm going to just nip the corner here, undercut it just a little bit, and now I'm going to come in and make the cold. Bottom to be almost equal to the bottom here, so I need to bring this, tuck this in a little bit more and bring the speed down. I think the base is a little thicker than I want. I want it to be maybe 10% less than the diameter of the flute or the widest part, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit, bring this down a little bit. And in looking at it, I think I may put a little textured collar here and mimic that texturing down here. I've inserted the 1-inch bit back in here to help support this. It runs freely, so when I part this off, I don't have to worry about chasing this across the floor or trying to catch it and rip out shreds. I'm going to use a 1/16 inch parting tool. About 1,000. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea since it started spinning in the Morse taper. So let's take that out and let's do plan on catching it. I'm going to switch to a longer handled parting tool. This has got two little fangs on it, so it makes for a little sharper, cleaner cut. You hold it with one hand so it gets close. You know, the smartest thing is for me to get a thin flush cut saw, so I'll do that. Move the tool rest out of the way and just come down here and just part this off. Won't take much sanding. Clean up the bottom. And there's my vase. Top goes in it, and I'm very pleased with that. I like the way it looks. I think it'll hold a nice bud very well. And I like the texturing, and this will darken up when I put some finish on it, the texturing will. I'm using my collet to hold one of these sanding pads from Woodturner's Wonders. I'm just going to work the bottom a little bit to get rid of the minor damage. Speed up a little bit. Just rotate it around. I'm very pleased with the overall result I got of this. If you want a simpler project, you might want to click on the playlist I've got on twig pots. Remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back here.